You're listening to the InFocus Interview Show, brought to you by photofocus.com, an online publication filled with education and inspiration for visual storytellers. This episode is made possible by our partners, Lume Cube, the world's most versatile light, and Drobo, a smart storage solution. Now here's your host, Vanelli.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vanelli. Now, my guest is a landscape photographer and an image editing trainer and technical support manager at DataColor. Please welcome John Walrath. How you doing, John?
Good, Vanelli. How are you doing today?
Oh, great. Now, John, our topic today, well, you're an expert at, is the importance of monitor calibration.
Right.
Great. Now, first of all, before we even get started, I did mention you are a photographer, and
Yep.
That's what I love, how DataColor and a lot of companies hire photographers to come in.
Right.
So we have photographers talking to photographers.
Exactly.
So, so especially when we're at trade shows, I saw that we have a mutual friend, Gary from Hunt's Photo.
Exactly. Yep.
Yep. So when somebody comes up to you at a trade show, let's say you're with Gary, and they ask you, well, why do I need to have my monitor calibrated? Mm-hmm. You're not talking to them as, well, I just work for the company. You're talking to them as a photographer and as an expert that happens to work for the company.
Right. Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So, go on.
Yeah. So it's, that's a great point. DataColor, we have some very technical people on staff, but we also have people who are very passionate about photography. I think I kind of classify myself as someone who falls into the middle there, but you're right. When you have a question about a technical product, it's not a technical pursuit at that point. It's a creative pursuit. You're helping. I have the opportunity to help people understand about calibration and color management, and I begin with it from a photographer's point of view, not from a technical pursuit.
And I did check out some of your work, and that's why I asked you earlier. Mm-hmm. Did you do a lot of interior design? And you mentioned that was one of the stuff you did in the past. You did a lot of interior designing stuff.
Yep. And
that's what kind of transferred you over to the photography?
Yeah. So my background in school was I have a bachelor's degree of interior architecture, which is kind of heavy on space design, interior design, layout, that type of thing. And I've kind of, my career before DataColor, I owned a business for a while, sold that. But before I worked for DataColor, I sold that business with the intent of becoming a full-time interior and architectural photographer. So I did work with, interior designers, architects, ad agencies, and builders to help them showcase their work.
Great.
And so
and like most of us as a photographer, you had children, and all of a sudden the kids become the subjects.
Exactly. I would say I love landscape photography, but most of what I do these days is document the lives of my kids. I learned the basics of photography from my father, and he was very passionate about photography. And we had a black and white darkroom in our basement growing up, and it wasn't that he taught me how to be a creative photographer. He taught me about the importance of photography in someone's life. Documenting time with your camera is just an important pursuit. And he really, that was the example he had for me. So it was really cool to grow up with that type of influence and to have a black and white darkroom in our basement growing up. So I saw him, develop a lot. The smells of the darkroom are very nostalgic to me. Yeah. I don't miss, getting my hands wet with chemicals, but every now and then it just, I get the itch to go back to the darkroom. But it's very fond memories for sure.
Well, that's great. So let's talk about monitor calibration.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What is monitor calibration?
Yeah. So, for transitioning, so thinking back to the darkroom, there were very specific things that you needed to do to get your chemicals working right, and you had to be in certain conditions to work properly. In the digital age, we rely on our monitors. So I mean, we're photographers. We need to have we trust our eyes to perceive the world around us. We trust our eyes to take us through the world and express ourselves creatively with our cameras. And part of these tools, we need to be able to trust our tools. And what monitor calibration does is it makes your monitor, it gives you the ability to accurately render your image file. So all of that image information lives in the file itself. It's not on the monitor. Your image can look different from monitor to monitor. That's not calibrated. And you need to be able to trust what your eyes are seeing on screen. So monitor calibration is simply the process of making sure your screen is faithfully rendering your image file, so you can do things like, primarily, print, being able to see it, to have a what you see is what you get type workflow. So go from screen to print and not worry about futzing around with, so you, giving you a true representation of what you're going to get in print on screen, and also be able to work collaboratively with others, and to, if you put it online, if you save it as an sRGB file, you'll have pretty good consistency over multiple monitors at that point too.
So now there's software calibration and there's hardware calibration.
Correct.
Now, DataColor is hardware, correct?
DataColor uses hardware to software calibrate. So we're creating a correction file that is used by your video card that alters the output going to your monitor. Part of that profile is also being used by color managed applications. Any editing application will use that profile as well, to accurately render color within that application.
So you've seen them before. So, I thought all monitors came calibrated. That's not correct, right?
Well, there's a certain amount of, it's the more you pay for a monitor, the better it's going to be out of the box. As a general rule, most of the common monitors on the market are there's some kind of calibration, but they're a majority of the ones that are not dedicated for photographic use. They're meant to look nice, vivid, saturated, bright, contrasty. If you go to any of the big box stores and see multiple monitors or multiple TVs next to each other, that'll really give you an idea of, the variance in what a monitor, actually looks like out of the box. Some of the very nice photographic monitors, they'll be pre-calibrated, but the brightness is also a very important thing. You want to make sure you're able to calibrate the brightness of a screen. And these monitors, even the ones that are pre-calibrated, they will drift over time. So they'll change. The backlights will change, it won't perform as well as it did when it was brand new and calibrated at the factory. So calibration is something that's, done, we recommend on a monthly basis, but it's something that's maintained over time to make sure the look of your screen is as it should be.
Okay. So I'm just speaking from experience. I've never had luck with software calibration, meaning, you look at the screen and you go through like 15 or 20 steps and which looks better, A or B? Is it me, or is it just, it's not inaccurate?
So it's the Spider X is DataColor's, our current data monitor calibration tool. It's a manual process to adjust the brightness of your screen, but everything else is automatic.
So it does it for me. So in other words, I put the box. Is it a densometer or what? Or is it a color?
The colorimeter.
Okay, colorimeter. So I put that on the screen, and it just runs through a cycle and it starts flashing all these colors.
Exactly.
So it basically is doing my work, the work for me.
Right. It's not like going to an eye doctor. It's not like which is better, A or B. It's the colorimeter. You put it on the screen. It's going to run through an evaluation of your screen, different colors, that type of thing. It's taking different RGB value measurements, and it creates the profile that's applied by your operating system automatically in the background. So it's
Gotcha.
The Spider X it takes under 2 minutes. My MacBook Pro, it does it in 70 seconds, so just over a minute. It's
wow,
a very painless process, very quick.
Okay. Now, and we talked about this briefly. Why do I need to calibrate my monitor?
Mm-hmm.
So, I know we were talking about printing, of course, and that's happened to me many a times where when I see on my screen, I go to print it and it's like, whoa, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
That blue does not look like this blue here.
Right.
So that I totally understand. But what about from an editing standpoint?
Mm-hmm. From an editing standpoint, you would want to calibrate your monitor because, that image might be printed someday. That image might be viewed by someone else on another monitor. You want to make sure you have as best consistency between you and them as possible. You want to, if you're, it's about really making sure you have a true view of the image.
Some of the things I find that I have issues with, my blacks, for example. So I sent it out to a friend of mine, and he came back and said, "Hey, Vanelli, look how muddy your blacks look." And he drew a circle, and I realized, oh my God, behind, let's say a portrait, I had a black backdrop.
Yeah.
And you could actually see pure black on part of it, but then behind the subject where some of the light spilled onto it, there's all these speckles, and I was like, what? It looked perfect black to me. But then when I ran over it with the info tool, the eyedropper tool,
yep,
that measured the color for me in Photoshop, it showed not zeros all the way through, but it actually showed that there was some colors in those shadows.
Right.
So that's where monitor calibration would actually let me see that.
Yeah. It would give you the ability to see what your image file actually contains, and so that would be a example like you present there is where your monitor's, I don't want to say lying to you, but it's not showing you a faithful representation. And
that's a polite way of saying yes, it is lying to me.
Yeah, and you want that. You want as a creative and a photographer, is you want to know what's actually there, so that your creative vision is truly expressed. If your monitor is somehow influencing positively or negatively your image, that doesn't. I mean, for me, it doesn't sit well. I would want, you want to start from a baseline of accurate and neutral, and that's what Spider X will do.
Awesome. Now, John, let's talk about dual monitors.
Okay.
And why doesn't the colors look identical? But before we do, let's take a quick break and thank our partners.
Lume Cube. Lume Cube is proudly known as the world's most versatile light. It's the smallest, lightest, most compact professional lighting solution on the market. Lume Cube represents the future of LED lighting and is a must-have for anyone looking to create better photos and video. Check out the new Lume Cube strobe, offering anti-collision lighting for drones at lumecube.com. Drobo. Drobo is a smart storage solution that protects photos, videos, and more from hard drive failure, giving peace of mind for the working pro or serious amateur who have a lot of external drives cluttering up their desktop. Save 10% at drobostore.com with the coupon code PHOTOFOCUS.
And we're back with photographer and image training and technical support manager at DataColor, John Walrath. Now, John, before the break, the question was, about dual monitors,
Right.
and why don't they look the same? They could be identical. I could have two identical monitors, but why aren't they the same?
Mm-hmm. Well, two identical monitors after calibration should look very much.
Well, I mean, before calibration.
Before calibration,
So,
yeah. So it could be anything from the settings in the monitor's menu. If the contrast has been adjusted, or if the color temperature has been adjusted, even if they're the same, they may not be performing the same. So one monitor might perform a little bit differently, even in those menu settings. So, for example, you might have set it to 6,500 Kelvin in the monitor settings, and that's just a mathematical, setting for RGB that the monitor thinks is 6,500, as opposed to actually measuring those RGB levels and which calibration would do, and set it precisely to 6,500. So it's not in the monitor menu, there's a preset for red, green, blue to turn your monitor to what it believes is 6,500. The thing about calibration is it's using an unbiased sensor that sits on your screen. That's a faithful measurement tool. So it's not affected by, it doesn't drift over time. If you want to talk about why we can't calibrate based on our eyes,
exactly.
Our eyes, if we're in different lighting, our eyes will see color a little bit differently. If based on our mood, we see
I
and
was just
perceive
about to
color
say
a little differently.
that.
If we've had
Yeah.
coffee,
How many times do we go at? How many times do we rate our photographs, like a star rating?
yeah,
Today this one was a 5, and you come back to it tomorrow. Oh wait, that's a 4, or that's a 2. You go back through, or you make your selects. So I totally understand what you mean by mood.
mm-hmm.
And like you said, you see it. So I have dual monitors.
Sure.
Do you recommend buying from the same manufacturer? Because if you're going to have a dual monitor setup, what
Yep.
do you recommend?
Yeah, it's always best to buy. I would say buy from the same manufacturer, buy the same model, and that's really going to give you the best kind of out of the box. I don't want to say out of the box experience, but that's going to set you up for the best success. Most of the working with our customers, a lot of the common question is why can't my MacBook match an external monitor? And they can, but you're dealing with two monitors that have different performance capabilities. One can
Gotcha.
render a P3 gamut, which is very close to RGB, and the other one can render sRGB, which is a smaller amount of colors. So if you calibrate both of them, it's calibration's not going to necessarily make two monitors identical, but it's going to maximize their color capabilities. So if
So
you
you at
are,
least have
yeah, so if
a
you're
good representation.
right. So if you're looking at a monitor that has more ability to render color than one next to it, you're going to see a difference, because it's just you're just going to see a difference because they're both accurate, but one can show you more colors than the other. And
Gotcha. I mean, just like a 4-cylinder car versus an 8-cylinder car.
right. I was thinking about a car analogy too. If Honda and Acura are made by the same company. If you put an Acura next to a Honda,
Gotcha.
you're going to see the Honda, or the Acura is going to have more performance most likely than the Honda, but they're still perfectly capable cars.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, hey, that was a really good analogy. I see where you're headed with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for DataColor, you came out with a new kit where you came out with these different kits. What are these kits?
Well, we have a couple. Right. So we have bundle kits. Basically, it provides a couple tools in one, in one kit, for lack of a better word.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. So, we've had the Spider X Studio, which includes Spider X Elite, Spider Print, and Spider Cube. Spider Capture Pro, which is, the studio is more for somebody who's going to be doing, full workflow from screen to print. So it allows you to make your own paper profiles, and that's a whole nother topic. The Capture Spider X Capture Pro is basically the display calibration in Spider X Elite, and then our capture products that help with image capture and accuracy. But the one that really is kind of exciting, DataColor. We've just had our 50th anniversary, so we've been doing this for a while for color management and color measuring. And DataColor does we work with a lot of other industries as well besides photography and videography and creative arts. But we just released a 50th anniversary bundle called Spider X Photo Kit. And that includes our top of the line display calibration tools called Spider X. It includes Spider Checker 24, which is a smaller capture color card, which helps with capturing color accurately. And then our Spider Cube, which is it's a great small, portable, durable capture product that you use to help with white balance, exposure.
It's unique. Because you said it's a cube, and I was watching that. It has white and black on different sides.
Yep.
But what's really cool is you put this silver ball on top of it,
mm-hmm.
and it looks like a specular highlight. You can actually see where the light is hitting, and if it's if the specular highlight is too great, to where it's getting blown out, you could dial back the power of the lights. So that was pretty cool. Very ingenious.
It's a gray card on steroids. It gives you an accurate black point too, a true black, which a flat gray card cannot do. There's a little black hole in it called the black trap, and it really is. It's very valuable for just really giving you. It's unique in the other sense too, that it gives you 2 points for white balance.
Yep.
It's a great tool, very small. Anyway, so it's
and you would use it right where let's say we're about to take a photo shoot, you put that in the beginning to where you captured the light and the subject, and now you have a white balance that you can apply, and the only time you change it is when the light changes.
Yeah, so the Spider Cube, when you hold it up, it'll give you a reference for, you'll see 2 sides that are gray. And generally, for when you're in mixed lighting, it's really handy. But you'll see one of those gray sides will generally be brighter than the other side. And then you take your white balance eyedropper and whichever application you want to use, and you just pick the side that's brighter. And that's going to be the side that's primarily influencing the light on your subject. It's a really cool, for portrait work, it's a no-brainer. It really is a very quick, handy tool to get very natural white balance.
Now, since you do a lot of landscape photography, how do you incorporate something like that into your landscapes?
Yeah. For me, I've gone shooting with, like, the first application would be, I've gone out and shot with other people. Every now and then we want to take a photograph of each other in the scene. So it's not very big, so it carries with you pretty quickly or pretty easily. But if I was to take, for example, there was a restored town in Kentucky that I photographed once, and there were it was like a candle and something was set up next to an old window, and I included a picture of the Spider Spider Cube in that, and it kind of helped with, it was a small portion of a
larger scene.
Larger scene, yeah. It's not, for landscape, it's tough because there's a lot of absolute accuracy isn't necessarily the goal. There's a lot of creative color use,
exactly.
At least in the work that I do. But
and that's where the calibration comes in.
Mm-hmm.
If the monitor isn't calibrated, then the deep, rich purples you're trying to pull out of that lavender field doesn't exist.
Yeah. So, the monitor calibration is place to start for any kind of if you want to get more accurate in your work and consistent, then the monitor calibration component is really where you want to begin for any type of photography.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, going back.
John, let's say I'm sold on the concept. Where can I get more information about the Spider and DataColor?
Yeah, so spiderx.datacolor.com. That last kit that I was talking about, the 50th anniversary kit, that's on sale currently. There's no coupon codes, no nothing, at least at the time of recording here. It's on sale for $199, which is half the price. Oh. That's a the regular price of Spider X Elite is $269, and that's just the display calibration component itself. But the Spider X photo kit is a bundle which can serve very well, and it's at a very good price. So it's half off of what it's normally would cost for the individual components. So $199 is really that's a great value.
Oh wow, that's great. Well, hey John, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge today. This was extremely helpful.
No problem. Yeah, really appreciate you having us on.
You are listening to the InFocus Interview Show. If you like these interviews, be sure to subscribe to our weekly Photo Focus podcast on photofocus.com. Thank you for joining us.